Let's get started on this particular show because there's a lot of sports to get into. And the first order of business would be the Mike Tyson-Jake Paul fight with the spectacle on Netflix Friday night. The primetime fight between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson took place. Many people experienced technical difficulties trying to watch the event. As Netflix said, more than 60 million people tuned into the fight at AT&T Stadium in Dallas, Texas. The outcome of the fight was no surprise as 58-year-old Mike Tyson started strong, supposedly, against Jake Paul, but quickly ran out of gas. The fight went the distance with the 27-year-old Paul winning a unanimous decision. If anything, the event proved that Jake Paul, a social media star, is one hell of a promoter who can draw big audiences to boxing events. In fact, per CNBC, the fight brought in $17.8 million in ticket revenue. That makes it the richest boxing gate in history outside of Las Vegas. Look, y'all, I'm going to have Andre Ward coming on in a few minutes to talk about it. He was doing color commentary for the fight. I'll get to him in a little while, but let me say this. I'm happy for Mike Tyson from the standpoint that he went to 8 rounds. He didn't get knocked out. I'm happy for Mike Tyson because he got $20 million reportedly to Jake Paul's $40 million. I'm happy for Mike Tyson because he left with all his faculties in order. He got to fight in front of his children who may have never seen him fight before. And that crowd and that ovation and the love and adulation that was thrown in his direction when he was introduced was obviously special for him, and it was special for the people who love him, including all the fight fans the world over, because anybody that loved boxing absolutely positively loved watching Mike Tyson fight. Having said that, let me say this. I never want to see it again, ever in life. Father Time is undefeated, y'all. The brother's 58 years old, and he looked it. Mike Tyson was gassed 1 minute into the fight. Now, I know he ultimately came on after the fight and posted something on X, I believe, where he was talking about he almost died months ago and had to have blood transfusions and, he was having some health issues. I get all of that. But at some point in time, number one, we got to recognize when the time is up. I'm going to tell y'all exactly what I thought transpired Friday night. I thought Jake Paul had every intention of walking into the ring and trying to do something spectacular as a guy that was 31 years Mike Tyson's junior. Mike Tyson's 58. Jake Paul is 27. He was thinking about knocking Mike Tyson out. I think that when he saw Mike Tyson introduced, when Mike Tyson stumbled walking into the ring, he looked unsteady. When he had a knee brace on his right knee, and he walked into the ring and he saw Mike Tyson, saw how old he looked, saw how slow he appeared, etc. I think that Jake Paul said, I can't do this. I know I could possibly, if I pressed him, if I really pushed it, if for nothing else but fatigue alone, I possibly could put him down. And ladies and gentlemen, that's not far-fetched because consider just 20 years earlier when Mike Tyson was in his 30s. But the end of his career had arrived when he got dropped by Kevin McBride. Mike Tyson wasn't hurt. He was tired. He was fatigued. He was out of shape. And you remember when he got dropped and he was sitting on his behind and he literally lifted his arm for the referee to help him up? That's how tired he was. That was over 20 years ago. That's about 20 years ago, rather. What the hell did you think he was Friday night? Now, that's a father time issue. I'm not throwing any shade on the great Iron Mike Tyson. At 58 years of age, most people don't look that strong. Most people aren't that strong. And most people couldn't perform on their best day the way that he performed in his worst day. But that don't mean we need to see the shit. It's over. It's over. And hopefully he could go and he got his $20 million and he's chilling and fine, I got it. I just don't want to see it again. I found myself sitting there praying he didn't get knocked out. Praying he didn't get. I was so happy it was 14-ounce gloves. But I wasn't upset that the ring was bigger and wider because all you got to do is move around. Mike Tyson ain't trying to move around like that at age 58. So I want to get that out the way first. But I wanted to get to a bigger point. Because the time comes, somewhat pun intended, for us to take the gloves off when it comes to Jake Paul. Now, unlike people who've worked with me, unlike people who are friends and colleagues, what have you, I didn't find it funny when Jake Paul knocked the living shit out of Nate Robinson and put him to sleep. That was a very, very, very scary moment. I'll never forget Snoop Dogg is doing color commentary for that fight. And when Jake Paul knocked Nate Robinson out cold, you heard Snoop Dogg say, "Oh, Lord." Remember that? And it was somewhat funny to a lot of people. But if you go back and you watch the fight and you listen, you hear Snoop get quiet. And when I later asked Snoop Dogg about that, you know what he told me? He said, it wasn't funny because, number one, Nate didn't get up. Number two, when he was ultimately awakened, he couldn't even sit on the stool. They had to carry him out, which was why Jake Paul went from celebrating his victory over Nate Robinson to getting very quiet because he got worried because it was that scary what he did to him. I bring all of that up to say somebody like a Nate Robinson, for example, or, Woodley, Tyron Woodley from the UFC, or, some other striker. Jake Paul is a boxer and a very vicious puncher when he connects with you. He has been training with professional trainers, boxing trainers for years. Well, the time has come to get in the ring with boxers. And Tommy Fury don't count. Nor the no-name dude that you caught with an uppercut and put him down in the first or second round. Nor is it the 58-year-old Mike Tyson. Now, Jake Paul is to be appreciated because this brother has shown boxers, fighters don't have to be at the mercy of promoters in order to put forth big boxing matches. If you got 70,000 to show up at Jerry World in Texas, well, imagine if he fought a real boxer who was a championship contender. Because I got news for you. Yes, Mike Tyson is Mike Tyson, but 70,000 people didn't show up for Mike Tyson. They showed up for Jake Paul too. So you got the name. You got some marketing cachet, big time marketing cachet. You got skills. When we go see you fight somebody? I'm talking about somebody in their 30s. I'm talking about somebody that actually boxes professionally. Not as a striker in the UFC. Not some basketball player. No, nobody like that. Not some dude whose only claim to fame is that he's Tyson Fury's little brother. I need somebody that's got skills, that's got a reputation. We got to start holding Jake Paul accountable for that. Not because he can't fight, because we know he can. Do you understand? And again, I got colleagues, somebody looking at me right now laughing their ass off thinking about what happened to Nate Robinson. You do know that if that was in the streets, Jake Paul would have been arrested, right? Because he trains as a professional. And the basketball player didn't. These are the kind of things that I'm talking about here. Boxing's a skill. Let me give y'all an example. Remember Francis Ngannou? Remember that monster? That Nigerian nightmare? Remember him? And then we saw him show up and show a little skill against Tyson Fury, who came there out of shape. What happened when he got into the ring with Anthony Joshua? He got put to sleep much in the same way Nate Robinson got put to sleep. Boxing is a skill. Jake Paul is a professional. He trains. At some point in time, I don't give a damn if it's a light heavyweight. Beterbiev, Bivol, a super middleweight, Canelo, Mexican monster, David Benavidez, somebody that actually has a reputation. The time has come for Jake Paul to step into the ring with a cat who actually boxes for a living and give us that fight. That's what I'm talking about. I appreciate the fact of him promoting. I appreciate him having the cachet as a former YouTuber turned boxer. I appreciate the cachet that he's got. I like Jake Paul. I respect Jake Paul. I'm just saying, because I like him and because I respect him, I want to see him in the ring. And I don't want to hear. I know his numbers are better because he actually drew more to this fight against Tyson Friday night at Jerry World than Canelo Alvarez did against, I think it was that guy Saunders a couple of years back. I got all that. But then he going to say, I don't need Canelo. Canelo needs me. Well, wait a minute. It ain't just about popularity, bruh. Because the Mexicans and Latinos pretty much going to follow Canelo wherever he goes. But it ain't just about that. Canelo's a champion. Canelo is elite. Canelo has fought against some of the best in the world. And he's still elite. So in terms of popularity, sure. But in terms of you want to make that argument that you're just as popular as him, fine. Not as respected. This Canelo Alvarez we talk about here, bruh. Jake Paul's got to get in the ring with fighters. He's got to get in the ring with fighters. And not dudes that folks joke about being geriatric because they're approaching 60 years of age. You got to get in the ring with people around your age, somewhere in that vicinity, who actually box professionally for a living. The time has arrived for us to demand that from Jake Paul. I'm just being honest with it.